Welcome to the channel. What is money? What is the evolution of money? As I said in the previous video, you have to understand the past in order to understand the future present tense. I want to highlight the key component or events in time where money was a different form than what we see now, which is cash, which is heading into a digital currency. The terms money and currency are often used interchangeably. However, several theories suggest that they are not identical. According to some theories, money is inherently an intangible concept. Currency, on the other hand, is the physical or tangible manifestation of the intangible concept of money. The basic form of money is numbers, while the basic form of currency is paper, bank notes, coins, or plastic cards like credit or debit. We can also consider a form of money, gold, silver, diamonds, artwork, compared to banknotes or plastic or T-bills when it comes to currency. Though this distinction between money and currency is important in some contexts, for the purposes of this examination of the history of money, the terms are used interchangeably. Money allows people to trade goods and services indirectly. It helps communicate the price and value of goods and provides individuals with a way to store their wealth. It is valuable as a unit of account, a socially accepted standard by which things are priced and which payment is accepted. However, both the usage and form of money have evolved throughout history. The two types of goods we use to purchase money with. Consumer goods are the final version of a product that consumers buy. Anything that an individual buys for private use is considered a consumer good. These can be physical objects or intangible services. Economic professionals often categorize consumer goods into three time-based categories. Durable, these things are used for longer than 3 years, like a car, your home. Non-durable, a non-durable good is used for less than 3 years, like food, perishables, and sometimes clothing. Per services, consumers use these goods as soon as businesses produce them, i.e. movies. Capital goods are any tangible items that manufacturers are used to make consumer goods. Since companies don't sell capital goods, they don't make money from them. They instead use goods to create a final product that consumers buy, giving them revenue. Many capital goods are fixed assets that come in three major categories. Property, this includes land and building. Plant includes factories, offices, and manufacturing sites. Equipment, these goods include machinery, vehicles, and devices. In the beginning of money, there was a bartering system. The bartering system is the exchange of resources or services, mutual advantage, and the practice likely dates back tens of thousands of years, perhaps even to the dawn of modern humans. Some would even argue that it's not purely a human activity. Plants and animals have been bartering in symbiotic relationships for millions of years. In any case, barter among humans certainly predates the use of money. Today, individuals, organizations, and governments still use and often prefer barter as a form of exchange of goods and services. 9,000 to 6,000 BC. Cattle. Cattle, which throughout history and across the globe had included not only cows but also sheep, camels, and other livestock, are the first and oldest form of money. When the advent of agriculture also came, the use of grain and other vegetable plant products as a standard form of barter in many cultures. The word cattle comes from the Latin word caput, and capital meaning property. So in biblical times, often the wealth of a man came with his cattle, came with how many children he had, how many vineyards he owned, how many acres he owned, and how many slaves he owned, and also how many wives he had. That was a rich man, considered in the biblical days. 1200 BC, cowrie shells. The first use of cowries, the shells of a Mollusks that was widely available in the shallow waters of the Pacific and Indian Oceans were in China. Historically, many societies have used cowries as money, and even as recently as the middle of this century, cowries have been used in some parts of Africa. The cowrie is the most widely and longest used currency in history. 1000 BC, first metal money and coins. Bronze and copper cowrie imitations were manufactured by China at the end of the Stone Age and could be considered some of the earliest forms of metal coins. Metal tool money such as a knife and spade monies were also first used in China. These early metal monies developed into primitive versions of round coins. Chinese coins were made out of base metals, often containing holes so they could be put together like a chain. 500 BC, modern coinage. Outside of China, the first coins developed out of lumps of silver. They soon took the familiar round form of today and were stamped with various gods and emperors to mark their authenticity. These early coins first appeared in Lydia, which is part of present-day Turkey, but their techniques were quickly copied and further refined by the Greek, Persian, Macedonians, and later Roman empires. Unlike Chinese coins, which depended on base metals, these new metals were made from precious metals such as silver, bronze, and gold, which had more inherent value. 118 BC, leather money. Leather money was used in China in the form of 1-foot square pieces of white deer skin with colorful borders. This could be considered the first documented type of banknote. 80C after death, paper currency. The first known paper banknotes appeared in China, and all China experienced over 500 years of early paper money, spanning from the 9th through the 15th century. Over this period, paper notes grew in production to the point that their value rapidly depreciated and inflation soared. Then, beginning in 1455, the use of paper money in China disappeared for several hundred years. There were still many years before paper currency would reappear in Europe, and 3 centuries before it was considered common. Now that we rehashed the past, let's talk about the present times of what we consider money in its form. What is the silver standard? The silver standard is a monetary system in which the value of a country's national currency is backed by silver. It is similar in nature to its famous counterpart, the gold standard. The purpose of the silver standard is to ensure the purchasing power of a national currency is maintained. For proponents of the silver standard, allowing currency holders to exchange their currency in favor of physical silver serves as a counterbalance against the tendency of governments to degrade the value of their currency by printing money. This changed, however, in 1834 when the United States Congress adjusted the price of silver to gold ratio from 15 to 1 to 16 to 1. This adjustment led to a rise of silver exports, causing silver coins to largely disappear from the United States. In response to the shortage, gold became the principal form of currency. Also, during John F. Kennedy's reign, he wanted to move us to a silver standard because the silver standard is more feasible with affordability and its value. But we see how that went. The 1816 gold standard. Gold was officially made the standard of value in England in 1816. At this time, guidelines were made to allow for a non-inflammatory production of standard banknotes, which represent a certain amount of gold. Banknotes have been used in England and Europe for several hundred years before this time, but their worth have never been tied directly to gold. In the United States, the gold standard was officially enacted in 1900, which helped lead to the establishment of a central bank. Now, in later videos, we will discuss the central bank, the Federal Reserve, and the creature that came from Jekyll Island. For those who might not know, the Federal Reserve is not privy to sharing information with the United States, and they're their own sovereign entity within the United States. Hence, Jerome Powell doesn't answer to any current residing president, or even the U.S. Treasury or a person in his position. You have to wait till basically their term is up before you can usher into a new chairman So this the conflict that we currently have right now, as far as Trump is battling with Jerome Powell for when he would start doing quantitative easing. 1930, end of the gold standard. The massive depression of the 1930s felt worldwide marked the beginning of the end of the gold standard. In the United States, the gold standard was revised and the price of gold was devalued. This was the first step in ending the relationship altogether. The British and the international gold standard soon ended as well, and the complexities of international monetary regulation began. Now I want to bring us up to speed of the current alternatives to physical cash, which is mobile payments and cryptocurrency. The 21st century gave rise to a novel form of payment activated with the touch of your finger. Mobile payments refer to money used to pay for goods and services. They can also be used to transfer money to another individual, such as a family member or friend. This can all be done using a portable electronic device, such as a smartphone or tablet. This form of payment first came to prominence in Asia and Europe before moving over to North America. From payments via text message, the technology evolved to allow checks to be deposited using the camera app on smart devices. Mobile payments such as Apple Pay are vying for retailers to accept their platforms for point-of-sale payments. There are also apps dedicated to this method of payment, including Venmo and PayPal. So also have sprang up within the mobile payments is the buy now, pay later. These companies and corporations have studied the debt that the average American is in, and they have created numerous platforms for people to be able to buy things that they really can't afford and pay for later. So they still can get that access to those consumers that they need to keep raking in the billions of dollars. Virtual currency. Virtual currencies are only available in electrical form as digital representations of money. This type of currency is stored and traded using computer applications or specifically designated software. The appeal of virtual currency is that it offers the promise of lower transaction fees than traditional online payment mechanisms do, and is operated by decentralized authorities unlike government-issued currencies. Bitcoin quickly became the standard for virtual currencies. It was released in 2009 by synonymous Satoshi Nakamoto. All of the world's Bitcoin is worth 1.14 trillion as of August 7, 2024. Although Bitcoin remains the most popular and most expensive one, other virtual currencies have hit the market. And we'll discuss those later in videos where we are breaking down numerous crypto companies and their origins, and also their ties within governments, corporations, and VC capital funding that they have received to push them straight to market. So once again, thank you for listening to me. Please share, like, and comment. Peace.